All right. So our next review is going to be for the latest Disney live action remake, and that is Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch is, like I said, the latest in the long line of Disney remakes. That's what they're doing now these days, just constantly cannibalizing themselves. They're like Wendigos themselves,
They
just
are.
eating themselves. They're just everything. Hey, we got this product, we haven't touched it. Let's make a live action remake of it. Why not? Let's do that. So there was the animated film that came out way back in 2002. So this is
Mhm.
23 years later. We decided to do a remake of it. What is Lilo and Stitch about for people who are not into the know of it? It's all about this little girl there, this little Hawaiian girl, Lilo, there. And she's this girl that lives in Hawaii there with her big sister, Naya, there, her big
Nani.
Nani
Nani.
there, her big sister. Sorry about that. Because their parents passed away, of course, because Disney did parents, that's a staple there. It leaves the big sister to take care of Lilo there, and she's trying to struggle with all that work and paying the bills there, and being a young woman herself there. It becomes a big challenge. But adding to that challenge is the alien Stitch that got let loose there. This creation, this demon there, but it was created by alien mad scientist who escaped there. He was so dangerous they wanted to put him down, but he escaped onto Earth and ends up finding the little girl of Lilo, and they become Lilo and Stitch there, that you have. So yeah, I've seen the animated film before a long time ago. I'm about to do
Mhm.
a review of it pretty shortly there tomorrow. But I remember really loving it a lot. The
Mhm.
Lilo and Stitch animated film is a classic there that you have, and they even had a animated show there which
Mhm.
I also watched, which I also thought was pretty good as well there. And I expected, and me and Nick talked about this. I expect this film to do really well.
Mhm.
It being a millennial film, usually the live action remakes that touch into the millennial nostalgia do really, really well, and they usually, yeah, they do pretty well. Then and people with the theater, it was packed. It was tons of
Mhm.
families, tons of kids.
Mhm.
This movie might make just money back alone just through merchandise because I saw people dressed up in Stitch pajama suits, and you have popcorn buckets and drink cups and plushies of
Oh yeah.
Stitch.
Disney can say fuck all to like their movie division for like a year and still be fine just on the merchandise and parks alone.
Mm, yeah, so you
Not the
got
way
that.
they've been
So
handling their parks in Florida, though.
Mm.
yeah. So I'm going around get you guys thoughts on this. Dusk, Lilo and
Uh,
Stitch. What do you think?
Before I get into my prompt, Hunter brought up a good point. He's like, he gives props to the VX team.
Mhm.
Stitch looks adorable, which he does CGI.
Mhm.
But come on, Disney, why not remake something like Black Culture? They'll never do it, Hunter. They will never do it.
Because because nobody knows what the fuck the Black Cauldron is in 2025.
Additionally, it's based on a really good British book series, and they'll never do it because they don't want to admit failure or try something again, but with better 2D techniques.
Mm.
They'll never
Why,
do it.
why don't you do Song of the South? Bring that guy back.
Oh no, I'd
They can,
love it.
they
Come
can
on,
man
cowards. Put
anime.
that on Blu-ray.
Hell,
Just put it
AI.
on Blu-ray. I'll buy
remake
it.
Dumbo, but put them racist ass crows in there.
You do it. You do it. I'll buy it. You release Song of the South officially
Hey,
on
you got.
Blu-ray. I'll buy it. That boring ass movie. I'll buy it. Because the only good parts in that movie are the animated parts in Zibbity Doodah.
And this Lilo and Stitch 2025 is directed by Dean Fletcher Camp, who
Mhm.
also did Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which was highly
Aw,
critically
I like
acclaimed,
that
highly
movie.
critically praised
No,
there.
like the movie in itself is shot well enough. If we're going to
Mhm.
talk about the live action remakes as a whole, this is probably one of the better ones. Like we're
Mhm.
talking overall, probably the better ones,
Yeah.
but it's still inferior to the animated one. And the things that they change in this one hurt kind of hurt the movie overall compared to what they did in the original, which was just better. That I don't quite understand why they changed. Stitch is adorable. I think they actually were able to nail a CGI design with Stitch and do it fairly well. He still looks out of place in the live action, though, in the real
Mhm.
world. You can't get past that. He's such a weird creature. And
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And yeah, this movie does, because in the animated movie, we had Jumba and Pleakley just like
Mhm.
dressed up in human clothes, and you can get away with that in animation. I mean,
Yeah.
you have Scooby Doo doing that all the time, but here they, kind of take an easy way out, just give him a projector, so it's just Zach Galifianakis and Billy Magnuson, which I think kind of hurts this movie, especially with the changes that they made to certain characters, especially Jumba.
Mm.
Yeah. Jumbo was a great in the original animated. I loved his personality. He
Mhm.
was very kind of like a hard edged professor, someone who you could tell, oh yeah, he's done a lot of he's done jail time before. He is very much a very like Junkertown. I put everything
Mhm.
together
Yeah,
and bartered my way through
and in
everything.
and in this, he's just Zach Galifianakis being like the
Yeah.
worst Zach Galifianakis characters.
There was charm to his character and the way
Mhm.
that they the original guy voiced him, along with oh my god, I'm blanking on him. What's I just saw this movie.
Bleakley.
Pleakley, thank you. I knew it started with their back and forth as going back and forth was really good in the animated. And this is just it's not that they're bad actors, it's just it doesn't have the same they're not the same characters and they don't have the same back and forth. And it's not as charming. That's the major thing about this movie. It's a lack of charm. And it's not from the faults of the actors. The actors are trying. It's just you can the reason why
Mhm.
all those movies were made in animation is that was the style and technique they wanted to use to tell those stories. And you can get away with so much in animation, you just can't get away with in live action.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's things you can do in animation that you just can't do in live action. So when you take something that is animated, of course, you have to change things when you bring it over. But here, a lot of the story decisions I feel like for the were made, and it loses a lot of what made the original film work in some of the story decisions. Like I feel like where this movie did well is like they did slight tweaks to the story between Lilo and Nani, but I feel like that's the heart of this movie, and I feel like that still works.
Mm.
Yeah.
I, I don't know. Like I actually felt that Nani was so much more of a jerk in this one versus the other one. I understood, and Lilo was probably in the original animated was probably one of the best depictions of a child
Mhm.
in the animations. Not only was she rambunctious, but also kind of mean.
Oh,
She was like,
yeah.
yeah, she's mean.
That
She's
that was like a thing I disliked about this movie is like they took a lot of the edge out of Lilo.
yeah,
Because Lilo in the animated movie was all about the fade.
yes.
She
It
was
was
ready to fight a bitch.
She was ready to fight. She was constantly like always on edge. She was constantly fighting back. One of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is very early on. She comes from luau practice. She just got into a fight, and she has this stuffed doll that got made fun of. They make fun of it, and so she makes fun of them back aggressively. And then she looks at her doll, throws it on the ground, and walks away. And then immediately rushes back and hugs the doll as an apology in silence, and then takes the doll back. It is one of the best demonstrations of both the psychology of a kid. You understand why she's rambunctious. You understand why she's angry. You understand why she has attitude.
Mhm.
And that's why the frustrations and the family dynamic in the first one works so well. You understand why Nani's trying so hard to keep their family together. And in this, it's just the way they took so much edge away from Lilo. The frustrations with Nani trying and Lilo not quite getting it, and Nani is
Mhm.
trying her best to do the best she can, but even Nani doesn't know how she's going to do it. You want by the relationship, but you can tell deep down they do love each other. Like you can tell it's all about family, and I felt that dynamic was diluted in this
Mhm.
version.
Hunter says here, the real pineapple says, this is what's so maddening about Disney is that their laziness at the end of the day doesn't matter. This shit will clean up and they'll tell us to go fuck ourselves. But their laziness on these last several remakes is legit maddening. He also continues to say, and they're already talking about a sequel because, of course, they are. Anime sequel is pretty funny, by the way. Yeah,
Mhm.
so you got that.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Um,
they're not bad.
So, I mean, we've talked about this at length, Disney remakes and how
Yeah.
soulless they are, how worthless they are. how they serve really no purpose there, how they're a
Mhm.
cheaper version of the animated film. And it just kind of depends on the varying degrees of how much you tolerate the soulness and kind of lameness of these remakes compared to these other ones. As we talked about, as Hunter even mentioned in the chat before, I mean, you have ones as terrible as Pinocchio, and then sometimes you have ones as good as Jungle Book, which we always go Jungle Book is the gold standard of these
And was the
movies,
earliest.
and it was one of the earliest ones of these. But they kind of don't have any reason to change because like you have a lot of these that are just carbon copies, like Lion King that makes 1 billion. So it's
There
like,
was
well,
less Elvis.
we say,
There was less
Oh, and this.
Elvis in this one.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, there was that. Yeah, less Elvis there in that one, and I do agree with you. The edge there of Lilo is kind of taken away. Nick has mentioned that. I mean, there's a scene where she like pushes a girl. That's about it. Pushes her
Like
off. You know,
cartoon
that's
Lilo fucked that girl up.
Oh yeah, she would, and she made no bones about it.
now the little girl playing Leo,
He fucked her up and said, "Bitch, I'll do it again."
you have Mai
Yeah, my
Kiliola.
my Maya Kiloha, this is her first time up as an actress, and I think she's very good in the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's like
and
it's a different take on Lilo, but it's one that still I think gets the heart of who that character is.
yeah, and this is her first role there, first really big role or major thing there. I see she was Moana 2. Maybe she had like a little
Hmm.
voice in that. But yeah, and you got to imagine how tough it is for her because she's acting off against basically a tennis ball, and for your first acting job to do that, that's really tough. And I think she does. I think she does really good, and she is pretty adorable there as Lilo. I think she kind of gets that down really well. And the dynamic between Lilo and Stitch, you got to have that dynamic to me. Is it as good as the animated film? No, it's not.
Mm-mm.
But it's I think decent enough, and I think kids were enjoying it in the theater there. What'd you think about the little girl as Lilo there, Dusk?
I have no problem with her. I think she did a fine job of what she was basically told to do. She had even some moments where I chuckled, where I thought her performance was fine. It's just a lot of that grit, a lot of that teeth was taken from the performance, but she does do a different styling of interpretation of what Lilo is in this movie. My fault is not with her. She does a fine job. I think everybody honestly does a fine
Mhm.
job with the performances, with their performances. It's just that the script that's written for them and the direction just kind of it's like a safer version of what the original was. But the original was just a better version of this and makes this one unfortunately moot. But I mean, it was nice. I think she did a fine job. I think everybody did a fine job. And one of the changes to this movie that I noticed, there is a couple character separations where they added new original characters to
Mhm.
this movie. One of them was played by Tia Curry. She plays Miss Kakoa, the social worker. I
Mhm.
mean, it's always nice to hear the original voice for Nani. It was nice that she got a role, so that was kind of nice.
Mhm.
But it also
Yeah,
kind of
but
stings a little bit more. Was like, ah,
yeah,
Yeah.
because a huge charm of the original was Cobra Bubbles, who in
oh
this
yeah,
is played by Courtney B. Vance, who is like who was introduced to us as just a social worker who had
mhm.
this mysterious
With the
past.
twist.
Yeah, but this movie, it's like upfront is like, yeah, he's a CIA agent who's just here to capture
Yeah,
Stitch.
that deflated everything.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe Vin Rames was busy doing Mission Impossible, so he couldn't do this. It'd be cool to, have him do it in live action.
Mm.
Especially because physically he really matches the character as well.
Oh, absolutely. They based it on him.
So that also kind of works there as well. But yeah, so that would have been cool. I guess he was busy doing Mission Impossible. But Courtney B. Vance, he comes in, and these remakes have a talent for being longer, but yet also adding nothing. Like it's how you longer, but then you don't even add any substance to the movie at all. And this is like 20, 30 minutes longer than the animated film, and yeah, it doesn't really do much for it.
There
Um,
is an art in saying in just in movie length. I've already talked about it before, but there
Mhm.
is a genuine art in brevity and just knowing what to cut, knowing what needs to stay. And in animation, especially earlier animation, time was literally money.
Mhm.
Effort was money. You had to be very sure what you're going to keep. Now everything's shot digitally. It's kind of like, just film everything, whatever. Just we'll put it together in post.
Mm, Hunter asked a question. He said, "If you're going to remake these, sanding the edges that makes the original special is some bullshit. How's the music in here?"
It's fine.
Uh, it's fine. It's like it doesn't hit the same way as in the original one because I feel like with that iconic Hawaiian roller coaster ride, they re-recorded it with the new artist, and I think the singing in it is fine. It just doesn't have the same boom as it did in the original, which is kind of what can be said with this movie.
hmm And as I said before, there is a little there's still some Elvis Presley songs in here, but there everything was re-recorded and everything felt kind of just it just didn't fit, or not quite as the original did. Again, it's like a cover of a song that was already well done. It's not that the cover's necessarily bad, it's just an echo of what was already done. It's like, I already have that original song. Why are we doing this again? Oh, money. Oh.
Yeah, because how did they phrase it? Give us some money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, out of the Disney remakes, the lineup of them, this is the middle tier of
Mhm,
these. There's some things that kind of like I like Stitch. I think he looks good. I mean, I do agree with Dust. He does kind of look odd. Like when he's here in this sequence,
mhm.
everything looks in place. Like okay, that works. But then it's when he goes to Earth and they do that's where things kind of like, oh yeah, he looks way out of place there. But the design of him looks cute and looks very nice there. The bond between the sisters, Lilo and Nani, um, I think it's somewhat there. I don't think it's as strong as the animated film again. I don't think Nani is as good. Well, none of these characters are as good as they are in the animated film there. And then the whole thing of like Hawaii really had a good representation in the film, in the animated film there,
Oh
and
yeah.
that was
Mhm,
a big part of it, and these tourists coming to the island of Hawaii and you know what I mean?
hmm
That had a place in that movie, and here that's not really in this at all, like, at all, that doesn't really come up at all there, of it, that identity, that culture really much in it. I mean, yes, they talk about family, and this word means family, and you don't leave people behind, but it doesn't feel very special, it just feels kinda generic kinda thing there. Um and the changes that they do make to this don't make it any better. It doesn't really add, I don't think, much to the movie there that you couldn't just get from a movie that's shorter and much better, which is the animated film, which you can watch on Disney Plus right now. Um, Maybe people will go check out the animated film after seeing this. The younger kids, maybe the parents will say, "Hey, if you let's go watch the series or let's go watch
mhm.
the animated film there." And it did give me nostalgia for that, for going back and watching the series again and watching the film. But other than that, and the little girl was cute. She was cute and
Yeah, she's
adorable, and I think she did well with what she did. So for me, I'd give it a low stream it there.
mhm,
What about for you there, Dusk?
Damn, Eugene being very genuous. Uh, I mean, I've said this how many times about all these different live action remakes. I've made my emotions pretty clear. I've made my reviews pretty clear. In a lot of these cases, they add more, but there's nothing of substance. And sometimes in the worst, they add more, and it hampers the film. And in some ways, what they've added is pretty innocuous, and it doesn't really matter.
mhm,
But in a lot of ways, what they add does take away. What they do change does take away from the original. And at the end of the day, the original still exists. You can buy that on Blu-ray. You can see that for free. You can go watch Disney Plus. If you have a Disney Plus subscription, you can go watch it right now. But I know a lot of this comes down to, well, I just want something to watch for the kids. It's
mhm.
something they know, and it's Memorial Day weekend, so let's go out and watch something for the kids. And because of that, this movie will make a lot of money. It will make a lot of money. The merchandise alone will make a lot of money. That doesn't change the quality of it. And this doesn't hurt the actors who are a part of it. It doesn't hurt it, but it does hurt the legacy of what that animated film represented and what it is and what it means to the people that watched it the initial time and the people who worked on that original film. It does, whether they mean to or not, hurt the value of that creation, and it waters it down. So because of all that, because this isn't as bad, but still a needless live action Disney remake, I'm gonna give this a skip it. There's no
Mhm.
reason to see this in theaters. If you have kids, I get it. I really do. But you have so many wonderful movies, especially so many wonderful animated movies that you can go and watch. But I get it. But honestly, you're just better off watching the original. Heck, uh, Lilo and Stitch have a sequel and a TV series. If you can find that, go and watch that too. It's not the worst thing. It's not bad. It's more Lilo and Stitch.
Mm, alright. So skip it from dust. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of expectations for this. I was kind of expecting just, another one of these kind of lazily put together live action remakes that that kind of lose a lot of the heart of what made that original movie special. And I didn't really get that to an extent. I mean, the movie is, bloated. It adds so much, but it doesn't add much of substance. Story decisions that they changed between the animation and the live action. It's like every decision was made for the work, just made this a longer and worse movie. Um, I think the where this movie does right is Stitch, I think, is a great character design. I didn't have the problem of him interacting in the real world. I still felt like Stitch was, kind of fit into this world in the context of, because he is an alien, he's not really supposed to like look completely real to our eyes. So it worked for me. Um, Maya Kaloa and Sydney Agudong, I think they are very good as Lilo and Nani, respectively. Felt their sister dynamic, even though there are decisions with Nani's character that I'm not crazy about, especially in context of the original movie. But uh, as far as like the live action remakes, this is probably one of the better ones, but that still isn't saying much. I mean, uh, I'd say that this is, just okay to watch with the kids, but I wouldn't recommend going to a theater to see this. I'd give this a low stream it, bordering on a skip it. I didn't feel like my time was wasted with this movie like I've had with so many of the other Disney remakes.
Did you take your nieces, nephews go see it?
Nope, I saw this by myself at a fucking 3 o'clock showing on Thursday,
Is it
and yeah, it was pretty packed.
packed? Yeah. What about you, Dust? It was pretty packed at your screen?
Yeah, surprisingly so.
People love that Lilo, man. We love that
No,
Lilo and
man.
Stitch.
Again, Lilo and Stitch is a really on the Disney Renaissance movies. You have your tier list. Lilo and Stitch is usually in the top 10. Like it's usually
Right.
in top 5, somewhere in the top
Mhm,
10. People love Lilo and Stitch. And why not? It's a great animated film. It's really great.
Mm,
Um, so I completely understand why people really want to see this movie and see it again, but it feels like we're going and saying the same thing we've been saying before. It's good, but there's the original. Like
yeah.
no matter what it does, it can't win
mhm.
against that.
Yeah, it's like it's fine,
Yeah,
and that's like the
the best you can
kindest
hope
thing I can
for.
say about this.
Yeah. I guess grading it on a curve, it's like because you're really comparing it to like, well, these can get shittier, and you know how shittier they can be. So I
That's
guess
basically what I'm doing. We have to do is you grade it on the curve,
you know.
and even within that curve, it's fine.
Do you think? So you, I know this is hard, but do you think if you strip away ever seeing the animated film, do you think
Mhm.
it's something?
If if I ignored the animated film entirely, took it on its own, like I tried to do.
Yeah. Do you think it's anything if you did that? Like,
If I
I mean,
ignored the animated movie
I,
entirely,
I
go ahead.
I tried really hard to do that,
No.
especially, because I intentionally didn't rewatch the original Lilo and
Right.
Stitch until after I saw the remake. So it was just judging this movie on its own merit. But even then, there are so many scenes that are done beat for beat from the
Right.
original movie that even if you're trying to watch this on its own, the movie is constantly reminding you of the animated movie.
mm,
Yeah, it's just constantly basic. It's basically saying, "Hey, remember the animated movie? Remember that?" So
yeah.
even within its own matrix, its own creation, it relies like a tumor. Like a tumor relies on it. It has to have the host of the original.
Wow, I will close out on that with Lilo and Stitch, 2025. It's like a tumor.